Hello students, Mr. John here with Chapter 19, Lesson 1. We're talking about mining and railroads in the West today. Our objective, well, you're going to have a quiz at the end of this lesson. Our essential question is, how did mining in the West lead to the creation of new states? Got some vocab today: subsidy, transcontinental, and time zone. Let's get started, shall we? So a long time ago, but not that long ago because it was only marking period 3, Star Wars! Bang, 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 bang. That's right, we were talking about the gold rush in the wild west. The gold rush in California didn't really last that long, but people were still looking for gold in other places, and there was more gold and silver hiding in the West. Between that prospecting and the influx of folks looking to get rich quick, thanks in part to the Transcontinental Rail Line, the West became a veritable storm of lawlessness and debauchery. Let's learn all about it on the next page. So people were pretty bummed when the California gold rush went dry. Some folks settled down, opened shops, or farmed, but others did not give up on the search for precious metals. As it turns out, there was more gold out west. It was just chilling in Pikes Peak, Colorado, which was found in 1858, sparking a new gold rush. The problem was most of the gold was found in ore form, meaning it was mixed with other metals. The process to extract the gold from the less precious metals was expensive, so basically this type of gold deposit made it hard for individuals to make a profit. Like companies could make a profit because but you needed the equipment to remove the ore, and a lone individual generally couldn't afford that equipment. So companies made money, but people didn't this time. Not on the Pikes Peak Gold Rush. Let's switch it up a little bit here on the Comstock lode. In 1859, prospectors made a huge discovery on the claim of one Henry Comstock. They discovered a massive lode, or vein, of silver ore in what is now Nevada. That's why they call it the Comstock lode. It was a lode of silver on Henry Comstock's land, hence the Comstock lode. Thousands of mines opened up on this lode, they say. Thousands, it's a lot. Wherever a mine opened, there was often a boom town that would spring up. Oftentimes, these towns had no law, and the populations were mostly male. This left them to be pretty rowdy places. Vigilante justice was common, with no judges or legal processes, just executions like Punisher style. What few women did come often set up churches and schools in an attempt to help the situation along. Once the silver or gold in a mine ran out, however, in this case silver, most people would just leave town. The rundown remains of a barely populated town would then become a ghost town, which you kind of think of here. You know, with the tumbleweeds just rolling along and nobody really living there. Such was the fate of many boom towns in the West. Alright, let's talk about spanning the continent. In the 1850s, railroad companies set about trying to find a route that would connect the east and west coasts of the United States. Work on a transcontinental railroad would begin during the Civil War, so it would end up running through the north. Two companies took on the enormous task of laying 1,700 miles of track: the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific Railroads. Both companies were given land grants and subsidies and raced to lay track as fast as they could. Essentially, the government gave them money for the track they laid. Usually it was so many cents per mile. So more track equals more free money, at least for the railroads. So the Union Pacific started their line in Omaha, Nebraska, and worked their way west. They employed a great deal of Irish immigrants, veterans of the Civil War, and African Americans. The Central Pacific started work in Sacramento, California, and worked their way east, employing mostly Chinese immigrants. Construction of the first transcontinental railroad was completed on May 10th, 1869. They met up at Promontory Summit in the Utah Territory. The last spike was driven in by the governor of California. It was a golden spike. The last spike was a golden spike they pounded in, but then they replaced it with a normal spike because someone would surely have stolen a golden spike. There it is. We have photography at this point in history, so we can get an actual picture of the meeting at Promontory Summit. Pretty cool. Let's talk about the effects of this New transcontinental line. By 1883, 2 more lines ran from east to west, and the effects were huge. The need for more line caused a surge in steel production. People and goods could now move easily from one side of the country to the other, coast to coast. Towns sprang up along the lines that grew into cities. Freight shipping costs dropped from 2 cents a ton to 0.75 cents a ton. That's less than a penny per ton. The American Railway Association created 4 time zones so that there would be no more confusion over train schedules. See, before standard time was adopted, towns determined the time by making noon the point at which the sun was directly overhead, which meant that every town had its own time zone. The time was slightly different. This caused confusion and actual railroad train accidents. Congress made the railroad time zones official in 1918. So that's pretty interesting. Think that a railroad company invented the time zones so that the trains would run at the same time everywhere. That's it for now. I hope you had a good time in the history zone. See what I did there? Alright, take a look at your quiz real quick. Standard Yund quiz. 10 points. 5 questions. Go ahead and knock that out. And tomorrow we'll be on lesson 2. Have a good one. Let me know if you need anything.